This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, so we connected yesterday at a 7 to 8:30 meeting, 7 to 8:30 p.m. meeting, and we had a discussion regarding what is that SQL Server tool and what we are going to do there. What is an MSBI tool? What is an MSBI refers? What are the different tools that are available? What we can do with that? What is a Power BI a tool or a platform? What are the different versions that we have and what we can do with that? We had a high level walkthrough yesterday. Now, this is an exclusive SQL Server batch which is going to start from today onwards. Weekly 5 hours the class will be there. Generally, it is going to be a kind of a Monday to Friday, but I don't want to give a gap in the initial day, so that's why I started from today only. So we are going to have a weekly 5 hour class, and it is going to take a 5 weeks, and we are going to continue at a same time slot, 8 to 9 p.m. IST. We are good to start. And what are the things that I wanted to make today? What are the things that I want to discuss with you is I will share after this class immediately that content first. So as part of a content, what I kept first session is what is the advantages, disadvantages of a file management system and a database management system. Then after, how to work with a SQL Server. These are the things that I mentioned as part of a first session. I hope you might be coming from a technical background with a different technologies, with a huge experience, whatever. But still, we need to understand instead of by hearting, we need to understand why databases. So let's start with to understand what are the advantages of a databases, what are the disadvantages of holding file systems. Generally, as part of IT environment, mainly there are two types of tools will be there. One is a front-end tool. The second one is a back-end tool. Front-end tools are kind of a web development softwares where a user is going to interact. That can be a .NET, that can be a Java, or a Python, or a PHP, or a HTML. These are the different softwares where user can create a user interface, developer can create a user interface and give it to the users, and users are going to interact with that application. That application can be any business process system, that can be a CRMS system, that can be HRMS system, that can be online ticket booking system, that can be any software that can be based on the business requirement. They are going to implement something, but we are going to use one front end tool to implement that one. So there are many front end tools are there: .NET, Java, PHP, HTML, Python. Like that, we have many other. skills are there where we are going to create a front-end system. Similarly, we have a back-end tools also there. Some areas people will call it a back-end engineer. Capturing the data, performing a business process, and that data will be used for analysis. So these are the tools which are going to work with the data. Generally, those tools are going to be a relational database management system softwares, most of the areas. On top of it, BI softwares. So the backend tools are responsible to hold the data and perform business process. What do you mean by business process? On a very simple note, let's assume you want to book a ticket for one movie. So whenever you select a ticket, whenever you clicked on a cart, and whenever you made a payment, in the back end, that need to be updated with your details, that need to reduce the occupancy, that should not display to other people. So some flow need to be designed. That kind of a process and holding the data will be done by a backend tools. The more demanding tools are a SQL Server, Oracle, MySQL, Teradata, and now you have a cloud-based tools called Azure SQL, Azure Snippet Analytics like Azure Data Warehouse, and a Snowflake kind of a systems which can hold the data. And on top of it, there are BI tools are there, which is going to responsible for decision making, and analyzing the data. Those tools are MSBI, Tableau, ClickView, Spotfire, MicroStrategy, and Power BI. There are many other tools are there. So at an overall picture, a front-end tool is going to create a user interface for an end user. A back-end tool is going to capture your all transactions, your activities, and that data will be used by a BI tool to derive the insights, a value from your data. Now, so this is a SQL Server development session, and here generally the databases are came into picture in a 1972. As I mentioned in a high level way yesterday, databases are came into picture in 1972, and computers are available from a 1900. So from 1900 we have a different types of a different series of generations of computers are available, and 1972 databases are came into picture. But before that also we have a people who used to have a transactions, who used to trade, everything used to happen. Generally at that time, before 90, you can consider before 90, people used to use files or a books or a papers, whatever you can call. People used to write the data on a paper or a book, right? At that time before 90, there is no databases, no computers. People used to write the data in the books. Whenever you write the data in the books, there are some limitations are there. The first one is security. That security, your file can be damaged, or that can be lost, that can be accessed by anyone, right? If you write something on a paper, whoever has the paper, they can access it. You cannot set a password for your paper or a book. And integrity is not there. Integrity in the sense, the accuracy of a data. So more than an accuracy, like like a meaning of the data, it is not there. You can mention age as a 50,000. A person age as a 50,000, you can type, you can write. If I mention my age is a 60,000 years, will a book throw an error? No. Whatever you write, that will accept it. If I consider age as a Hyderabad, it will accept it. Whatever you write, that is going to accept in the book. So there is no integrity. There is no validation. Whatever you write, that will accept it. That is another problem. Concurrency is not there. Concurrency means at a time, multiple people accessing the resource. Can a single book can be accessed by 100 people at a time? No. Concurrency is not there. Retrieval will take more time. So you are going to have a daily transaction or a transaction level data. If you are holding a 2 years or 3 years data, means you will get a 5 books, 10 books. Whenever you have a requirement at a specific month, at a specific year, a specific book over the last 7 months of time, what is the sales amount? How much time it will take to analyze, to get the data? It will take much time to get the data. Similarly, redundancy. You cannot relate something which is available on another page. Wherever it is required, you need to duplicate the data. Wherever it is required, generally we used to duplicate the data. Then after, inconsistency or inaccurate. Yes, we, like as we mentioned, at the time of writing, it will not validate anything. At the time of reading, even you can make a mistakes. You can make a mistakes. So it is inaccurate. At the time of writing, it is not validating. At the time of reading also, yes, you can make a mistakes. If you have a 100 value, you can return as a 80. Will book throw an error? No. Inaccurate. And more human efforts are required to perform the analysis. If you want to do any business analysis, the more effort is required. If I want to understand for a specific book, last 9 months, what is the sales amount? Then after, if I ask another product, what is the sales amount? For these two books, what is the last year complete sales amount? How much time it is going to take to analyze for each and every requirement? These are the drawbacks if you use a books or a papers to write something. Security, integrity, concurrency, retrieval, inaccuracy, redundancy, and more human efforts. You have all these things, but at the time computers are not there, mobiles are not there, technology is not there, they don't have another option. Thereafter, a computers are came into picture. But as I mentioned, the databases are came into picture in 1972 later. Even if you have a computer, even if you have a flat file or CSV file or a notepad file, yes, security is a problem again. Even if you write something on a notepad, that can be accessed by anyone, whoever having that space access. And integrity, again, my notepad will throw any error. even if I write whatever I want, even today in 2020, if you open a notepad, if you write something, a universal false if you write, notepad will not throw any error. Here also there is an error. And concurrency, even today, 2020, August 26, August, like June 28th, at a time, two people cannot open a file in a write only mode. So like in an organization, in your team, if a Excel file or Word file given to you, and if they ask you to modify something, whenever some person opened, it will not allow other person to write. Concurrency is a problem. Even a retrieval is a problem. Like whenever you are having a lengthy data or a files, if you want to analyze, retrieval also will take time. Redundancy. So again, we are going to duplicate the same data. Inconsistency or inaccuracy. Inaccurate means like you can make a wrong analysis. And inconsistency means, let's assume I mentioned my details. Because you are using a book or a file, so I updated my address as one thing here. At a later time, I updated something here. Who is going to validate these two things? Who is going to remember that you updated your address at 10 places? Whenever there is a change in the address, you need to update. Who is going to remember that? Who is going to update that? Over the last 2 years or 3 years, I'm storing all the data in my notepad. A specific customer is coming frequently and some of the details are changed. Who is going to go back and modify everything? So inconsistent data will be there definitely. And inaccuracy means that whenever you are analyzing, how much trust that you can give, the person who is analyzing will get accurate data. So the same problems, whatever we have at files, the same problems are available here also. Even if you have a computer, if you use a files. So then after databases are came into picture, and the databases are provided some solutions for the problems that we have. So those are, we are going to see those things. And before continuing further, I hope I am in a sync. Mujib, Anand Singh and Yadav. Am I sync so far?
Yes, Sri.
Okay. Yadav and Anand Singh?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, fine. So now, as I mentioned, the databases came into picture. The databases came into picture in 1972 later. And whenever databases came, they offered one feature called security. Even till today, the concept is as is: authentication and authorization. So every database, not only SQL Server that you came here, whatever the software that you go and learn related to database, this feature will be there. Authentication and authorization is there for databases. What is an authentication is, we are going to verify whether the user is a valid user or not. Whether the user is a valid user or not. If the user is a valid user, we are going to allow them, the user, to connect to our database. We don't care about what permission that he has. He is a reader or he is a writer, we don't care. The first thing that we are going to see is authentication. Does he have some permission? We are going to verify. That is what an authentication. Authorization. If you are authenticated user, once you enter, whenever you are performing any operation, it is going to verify. Do you have that permission to do that or not? Whatever the permission that you have, that will be enabled for you. So databases are going to follow this principle, and this is one of the principle of EF card. So they mentioned that whoever wanted to implement a database management system, they need to follow security. So authentication and authorization, even today that is aware, and that is what one of the feature of databases. It is going to verify where whoever is the person going to connect, it is going to verify whether the person is a valid user or not. If the person is a valid user, then only it will enter. If the person is having a permission, then only it will make the user to interact. The second thing is, so security problem, whatever we have with respect to files or books, that is solved with a security, like whatever we have, authentication and authorization. Integrity is not there in a files that I mentioned. I mentioned that was whatever you want to type, you can type, I mentioned. But here at a databases, there is a concept called data types. There is a concept called constraints. There is a type called triggers. These are the three database objects. These are the three things which are part of your SQL Server development course, part of a SQL Server development course, which are going to take care about the quality of information that you are feeding. The data type, what it is going to do is, it is going to verify you are inserting a predefined data or not. Previously I mentioned age equal to Hyderabad, I mentioned age equal to Hyderabad or India, Dubai, whatever I mentioned in Notepad, that will work. But in databases, whenever I am entering a age equal to Hyderabad, it is going to verify, is it a number or text or anything else? Anything other than number, it will not accept. So the less number of chances to enter a wrong data. Constraint, I will apply that the age should be a maximum of 100 or 120. Or rare cases 150, I am not sure. Whenever I kept a constraint as a 150, so whenever you give age as a 2000, it will not accept it. It will throw an error. It will throw an error. It will not accept it. There are some scenarios after inserting a data, then after we are going to do some business process. Based on the business process, we wanted to roll back. We can use a trigger. So data types, constraints, and triggers, these are the three types of objects that are available in SQL, which will make sure that you are going to enter a valid data according to business requirement. These are going to take care. Then after, concurrency is there. Concurrency is there means, first of all, concurrency means accessing an application by multiple people at a time. Multiple people. So as I mentioned, a notepad, a book cannot be accessed by multiple people. A Word document cannot be opened by write-only mode by multiple people. But here, concurrency is available because you are following a server and a client approach. Client server approach you are following. So that server is capable to handle a multiple requests at a time. All the developers and all the users are going to connect from here to a server. Server has the capability to serve multiple people at a time. So multiple people can send a request and the server has the capability to respond. That is what, as we have that one, at a time multiple people can connect and they can work. Retrieval is easy. Retrieval is easy because you have a structured data at a databases. In a notepad, will you maintain the same structure? for all the years, for everything. You will write in a notepad. We'll write something here, something here, something here, something here, something here. Unstructured script that we are going to write. But as part of a database, we are going to follow a table structure. Whatever you write, we are going to write the data in the database tables. And you are following a proper structure, and you are having a language called SQL. SQL. You can retrieve the data faster because you no need to interpret this one. You have a fixed structure is available. Redundancy is there. If you enter a duplicate data, why not it will enter? So it will accept a duplicate data. But there is a concept called normalization. By following the normalization concept, you can avoid the redundancy or duplications. So if you manually insert, why it will not accept? It will accept, but by following the best practices of your database development, as we are following a normalization, we are going to avoid the redundancy and consistency and accurate. Accurate because you are not the one who is calculating the things. You are writing an expression only. So you may miss the records from a notepad. If it is having a 150 records, you can get a 120 records because your mood is not good. But if it is there in a database, you just need to write a query. It will not miss any records. It is an accurate. So because you have a security, you have an integrity and a concurrency and SQL capabilities, you can make the things faster and valid. You are going to make a meaningful insights from a data. That is why people are using a databases. And I am saying again, these are the not a features of a SQL server. If you go Oracle, same concept. MySQL, Teradata, wherever you go, the same concept. Everywhere normalization will be there, everywhere data types will be there, everywhere constraints, triggers, security, everywhere, everything is there. So these are the characteristics of a database management system server. So because these all are available, people are using a databases. People are using a databases. Now, these are the advantages and disadvantages. Disadvantages of a file management system and advantages of a database management system. Now, as we connected for a SQL server, you may need to work on a SQL server software. To work on a SQL server software or for this course, you require two softwares. One is SQL Server evaluation software. The second one is SSMS software. I will share the links of those two softwares and I will touch base with one of the person. So the deadlock concept also there that can be resolved. So we have a concept called transactions also, and we have many other concepts where we can avoid that one, we can fix that one. So Whenever you are going to work on a SQL server, you require these two softwares. One is a SQL Server evaluation software. The second one is SSMS software, SQL Server Management Studio. We will share these softwares. Where you can download and install. And even I will touch base with one of the consultant, and we will install that software and we will share that recorded video. You can follow the same. Now, why you require a SQL Server evaluation software is SQL Server evaluation software is nothing but a server. It is a server. Whenever you install this server, so by default, or you can, whenever you download and install this software, you will have the capability to work with multiple servers. Out of the multiple servers, what we require is there is a server called database engine. There is a server called integration services. There is a server called reporting services. There is a server called SSAS, analysis services server. So why you require this software is, with the help of that software, you can install these four types of servers: database engine, SSIS, SSRS, SSAS. These are the four types of servers you can install. What is the roles and responsibilities of these servers are? Database engine is a server which is responsible to work with the databases, which can be creating a database objects inside a database. That can be tables, views, procedures, triggers, cursors, everything. And then after providing an access to the end users, or providing a support to the end users. This is what all a database engine server is going to do. So database engine server that has the capability to hold the databases, to manage the databases, to support the databases. Similarly, integration services server is capable of holding ETL and ELT processes. ETL and ELT solutions can be stored. That related information can be stored in a database, and that can be executed with the help of this server. Similarly, SSRS, similarly SSAS. These are the four types of servers. Now, what is the second software? So as you came for a SQL server, as you came for a database development, you require database engine. You don't require SSIS or SSRS or SSAS servers. You require database engine. The second software is SSMS software, SQL Server Management Studio. This is a client software. This is the software which is going to allow the user to connect with the server, to make a request on that server, to get the response from that server. This is a user interface. You can consider it is kind of a browser, whatever you are using, Google Chrome, Internet Explorer. Facebook is hosted somewhere, LinkedIn hosted somewhere. How to open a Facebook? You need to have a Google, like a Google Chrome. A browser is required. And how you are going to access a Facebook? Through a Google Chrome. So SSMS is a software which will be used to interact with this database engine. So you are going to interact with that server. Then after you are going to connect to that server, then after you are going to create whatever you want. That is what our journey as part of this course. So you require these two softwares, and I will share that links. And you can, like, once upon a time, 2008 to 2008 R2 versions used to get these two things together. I think even at SQL Server 2012. But then after, these are coming as a two different softwares. You need to install these two things separately, and then after you need to start work. Now, yes. Now, I already installed the softwares. Entire day, like I spend my time to set up that environment, and I'm going to connect to that environment. Give me a 1 minute of time maximum. 280. Okay, so I joined from another mission, and I'm sharing that screen. So I shared my screen. Now, as I mentioned, you require two softwares. So after installation of the two softwares, you will get an SSMS, SQL Server Management Studio. So this is what kind of a client, this is what you can use for your complete development. To connect with a server, we are going to use this one. So whenever you open that one, it is asking you, boss, for what you are going to connect. As I mentioned, database features are authentication and authorization. It is asking you, what it is asking is the first one, server type. It is asking server type. Server type, you can see that there are 4 server types are there: database engine, analysis services server, reporting services server, and integration services server. As I mentioned, if you want to work with the databases And if you want to create a databases, or if you want to create a database objects, and or if you want to build any business process with database, you need to use a database engine. And if you want to manage the integration services packages, if you want to access them or if you want to trigger them, you require integration services. Similarly, analysis and reporting services also, they are managing their own portfolio on a simple note. So we connected for only database engine like SQL development. You need to specify that. Once I provide that one, that is a server type. The second one is a server name. Server name, you need to provide a server name here. So this is my default machine name that I'm getting. So like you can provide the server name here. So whenever you are practicing and whenever you are learning, you are going to install the server on your own machine and you are going to connect. But in reality, the server will be there on another machine. You are going to connect from your environment to the server. There you are going to provide a server host name or IP address. To connect the mission, to connect the server which is available on another mission, you need to enable a firewall and you are going to connect. So whenever you are working on a job, you are going to connect by providing IP address or a host name. Then after, so that is what you need to provide here. So if it is on your mission, you just need to provide a dot or a local host, or as a host name you need to provide. In a reality, you need to provide the name of a like a host name, like a IP address of a server. Then after, authentication. As I mentioned, authentication and authorization. I clearly mentioned authentication is the first thing. First you need to connect, then only we'll see what you can do, what you cannot do. Authentication, you are able to see Windows authentication, SQL Server authentication, Active Directory universal authentication, Active Directory password authentication, Active Directory integrated authentication. These are all Active Directory, you can ignore, these are related to Azure. You have mainly two types of authentications are there. One is Windows authentication, SQL Server authentication. Windows authentication is nothing but it is going to take the name of a person who logged in that mission. So whoever logged into that mission, that person name it will take, and it is trying to connect. That is that is Windows authentication. SQL Server authentication is nothing but irrespective of who logged in or what, you can create your own users with that username and a password. We are going to provide, we are going to connect to that server. So whenever you select a Windows authentication, you don't need to provide a password or username. It is going to take the person who already logged into that mission, that credentials will take. But whenever you mention it as a SQL server, you need to provide a username and a password of that mission. That generally, like if it is on your own mission, you are going to set at the time of installation. Then after, or if it is in a live environment, you are a database administrator going to create a user for you, and he is going to share the username and password. So you can specify whatever you want. Click on connect. So SSMS is a user interface by using which you are going to connect to a server which is already installed. Whenever you are trying to connect, you need to mention these things: server type, server name, authentication, and then after click on connect. Click on connect. It is connected. There are some scenarios the connection will be failed. Connection will be failed. There are some scenarios. The connection is going to fail if you don't have the access. You are a not authorized person. Point one. In a reality, in a realistic way, that is the thing. There can be another scenario also. On the worst case, if server is not running in the backend, all real-time applications it will run. We will not find that kind of scenarios. But whenever you are working on your laptop or whenever you are working on a normal projects, whenever system restarted, if the server is not started, if server is not started, you cannot connect, right? So if server is not running, you cannot establish a connection. So if the server is not running, or if you don't have the access, at that time, you may not connect. If you want to verify whether the server is running or not, you can open services.msc and you can verify the SQL Server service is running or not. You can see that the SQL Server this is the main software. Database engine means that one. It is running. If that is stopped, now go to Visual Studio and disconnect. Try to connect. Server is not running in the backend. As the server is not running, you cannot connect. So it is the minimum thing that we need to understand, that if server is not running, instead of simply raising an escalation or a mail, if we have the access on that environment, then we need to verify is the server is running or not. If the server is running and if you are having the access, then you can raise any escalations. If the server is running and if you are unable to connect, then you have an access problem. That can be your user account, that can be a firewall or whatever. If everything is fine, it will connect. So now if I try, it will connect. This is how you are going to connect to a server. That can be any server, like currently I connected to the server which is available on my machine. And you can connect to that servers even which are hosted on the other network also by providing the corresponding IP address or a host name by considering that firewall is enabled. So once you connect that, so here you are going to have a window called Object Explorer. You are able to see an option called Object Explorer. So Object Explorer is a window which represents the number of servers or number of machines that you are connected. So at this point of time, I connected to one SQL server and I wanted to connect to another server also, or I wanted to connect with another type of a server also. Any number of connections you can make. There is no limit with respect to the number of connections that you can make. If you have the access, yes, you can connect with the multiple connections. So that connections you can access from Object Explorer. Then after, so this Object Explorer contains all the server level objects, and you have an option called a new query window. So new query window is a place where you are going to write your SQL statements. So here you are going to write your all SQL commands here. As part of your journey, we are going to create a databases. We are going to create a tables, a views, procedures, functions, triggers, indexes, everything we are going to create, and everything that you are going to write here on. So query editor is an option by using which you are going to write a queries, and here you are going to write a query. If you want to create a database, if you want to like query the data, or whatever you want to do, any transformation or processing that you want to do, you are going to do on a new query window. So here I just mentioned hello. If you want to execute the statement that you written, you need to select and you need to click on execute. So you will have a query window, result window will be available here, where you can see the results or error messages or the messages that you returned from procedures. Output window will be available here. So with the help of SSMS software, you are going to connect to a server and you are going to write a queries, and below output window is going to return the output. So I'm stopping here as I need to join for another class. We will continue from here as part of next session, second session tomorrow. We are going to see what are the different objects that we have as part of that database engine. What are the predefined databases that we have, and then after how to create a database. And whenever we create a database, there are two files are going to generate. What are those two files? Database is nothing but a file only in reality, a single file. So what are those two files and how to access them? We are going to see a bit next level discussion on the Object Explorer and the databases, and how to write a query, where to write a query. If you write a query here, on which database, on which server it is going to execute, how to identify that, we are going to see as part of a tomorrow session. Till here, whatever I discussed, the drawbacks of a file management system, advantages of a database management system, and what are the softwares, the softwares that you need to install, and how to connect, and what are the server types, how to connect with that. Anyone having any questions?
No.
Yeah, no. And Jeep?
No, Srinivas, I'm good.
Anand Singh already addressing answers also, so no problem. So let's connect tomorrow at the same time and on the same link. That's it from my end. And all the people who ever joined for a Power BI, we just need to rejoin